How did you travel to work today? Well, some of you lucky ones probably crawled along in your motor car, others even luckier, possibly walked. But 2 million people travelled by tube, and it's a fair guess to assume that many of those 2 million had no idea that today the Underground is 100 years old. Well, it all started here at Farringdon Station, when on the 10th of January 1863, the world's first public passenger-carrying underground railway, the Metropolitan, opened its doors to traffic. And the passengers poured in. 30,000 of them were carried on that first day, all eager to experience this new, invigorating form of transport. They travelled to Paddington from Farrington Street, a distance of just over 3 3/4 of a mile. This first stretch of line was built on the cut-and-cover method. Large trenches were cut out and then roofed over. So London's Underground came into being, a small enough beginning perhaps. Just 3 3/4 miles of it. Today there are almost 250 miles of tracks and about 300 stations, all served by speedy electric trains, a network which reaches out far beyond the West End, out into the quiet of the country. In the early days, steam locomotives hauled the trains, but on what is now part of the Northern Line, the first electric train was used in 1890, and electrification spread rapidly. But there have been many problems. At Sloane Street, for instance, is an innocent-looking steel pipe. In fact, it's a river, the Westbourne. It passes directly over the tracks and platforms, spelling, one would think, disaster if the casing ever sprung a leak. Then, in hilly parts of London, Hampstead and Belsize Park, for instance, the tube is 180-odd feet below street level. Going down in the lift takes over 20 seconds. Below ground, the trains are geared to stop at stations barely 20 to 25 seconds. But it's enough time to board one of the 4,000-odd cars that make up the trains. 500 of the trains are in service every day. They reach astounding speeds in astonishingly short times. Out in the open, they hit 40 miles an hour after 1 minute. Here in the tunnel, it takes just 15 seconds to reach 20 miles an hour. The Underground plunges under the Thames in several places. Here, the river is no less than 900 feet wide, a tunnelling job if ever there was one. Slowly, the tube's getting a brighter look. Gone, or at least going, are the old fuddy-duddy stations built of shiny brown lavatory tiles with damp causeways. The new-style stations are round, smooth memorials to those 19th century tunnellers. Sparkling mosaics, clean with an all-enveloping light, chromium and glitter, these are the hallmark of the tube station today. The escalators glide on their way at 180 feet a minute, and the ticket machines swallow money and dispense 85% of passengers' tickets. Trains roll in and out of stations at intervals in the peak hours of barely 90 seconds. This machine registers every train on every line as it passes a given point, keeping a record, as it were, of the frequency and punctuality of the trains. Another 20th century development, the construction of the Victoria Line. You no doubt know quite a lot about that already. Well, it's all a far cry from those early days, and standing here in 55 Broadway, the headquarters of London Transport, it's strange to remember that all this began 100 years ago with this.